A high-level Belt and Road Summit is kicking off in Beijing today. Political leaders and business representatives from some 40 countries, including Russia and Germany, are expected to join to learn more about China's new Silk Road. Now, one of the routes will run through Central Asia and Moscow, all the way to Rotterdam. There'll be roads and railways, as well as power stations, telecommunications networks and pipelines. And then there's the Maritime Silk Road, which will connect China with Europe, Africa and Southeast Asia, with China already investing billions into infrastructure projects along the way. But critics warn that President Xi's pet project plunges partners into debt while giving China more power.
These workers are assembling cooling and heating units for industrial buildings. They are later going to be shipped to the US, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Mexico. Yuanda, or Broad Group, is a company specialized in energy-efficient air conditioning, heating and air purifying. Lately, Broad is planning for further international expansion.
The Belt and Road Initiative is a good opportunity for us to cooperate and to promote our business further. We expect to see a lot of new opportunities.
Belt and Road, also called the New Silk Road Initiative, is a massive investment program by the Chinese government into international transport infrastructure. In the past decades, China has invested massively in its own infrastructure. Now it builds roads, railways and ports around the world. China says the initiative is designed to boost international trade and cooperation, but critics see it as a means to extend China's influence beyond its borders.
The main projects of the Belt and Road Initiative are all implemented by China's state-owned enterprises. These companies are closely linked to China's socialist state and government. This direct link between projects and the government is something that is closely watched in Western countries. It's understandable that the West is cautious about the project.
Mid-sized private enterprises like Broad are less visible, but still important to many projects. Not only the architecture of the headquarters suggests that Broad has been eyeing international markets for some time. The group is doing business in 80 countries. Roughly 15% of the projects are directly linked to the Belt and Road Initiative. But Broad is saying the impact is much bigger.
At first, a lot of projects were financed by local governments or companies in the host country, and that caused delays. But since China started providing funds on a large scale, we're seeing projects speeding up.
Some critics say China is exporting its stimulus policies to keep its own economy growing. For private companies like Broad, however, an even more important outcome of China's massive engagement abroad might be a changing business environment in many countries. Some countries have agreed to direct transactions in yuan rather than in US dollars.
We've done our own analysis, and within the next 15 to 20 years, we expect the Belt and Road Initiative to bring many interesting business opportunities.
World markets are likely going to see more Chinese investments in the future.
For more, let's bring in our correspondent in Taipei, Sung-Han Su. Su, good to see you. More investment, of course, is not a bad thing, but there are critics there saying that it's all about China gaining more influence by plunging others into debt. Are they right?
Well, Monica, there is growing concern over China's political and economic influence. Many critics have talked about the negative impact on the host countries, including debt traps and corruption, land seizure, and environmental degradation. And some have talked about the difficulties of building a fair method for resolving disputes between China and its partners. And a few have criticized the failure of the project to create adequate jobs for locals. So there are really lots of things that people criticize about this project, and the criticism do not only come from developed but also developing countries. So the international pressure is working to compel China to make some changes.
And of course, today people in Beijing will expect some answers. How do you think China will respond?
Well, China will have to defend its image, and they try to depoliticize the project to counter the allegation that the Belt and Road Initiative is just an attempt to build Beijing's political influence, and the Chinese government is trying to find some ways. To take more control over the project officials and the participants, including the toned-down rhetoric and the clearer rules for state-owned enterprises, and restricting the use of Belt and Road brand, and building overseas auditing and anti-corruption mechanism. It's also stepping up efforts to get more developed countries to join in to spread the risk to build projects in poorer nations. But it takes time to find out whether these measures are serious or just cosmetic.
All right, so just briefly, if you would, one or two highlights of today's forum in Beijing.
Well, people believe that the Chinese government will want to present the Belt and Road 2.0 version. That is a project that has expanded to more than 120 countries, including more than half of the EU members, and has expanded its dimension, such as the polar route and the digital route. So there are lots of highlights this year that we can expect.
All right, well, Sung Han Su there reporting for us from Taipei there. Thank you so much.